Second Chances, 23 Steps to Transforming Adversity into Opportunity by Chuck Gallagher. Chapter 12, Christmas Memories and a 3-Minute Call. On Christmas morning, my first and, as I thought, hopefully my last in prison, I lay in my bed feeling an aching in my chest. The pain was not from a physical ailment, rather the pain was an emotional ache that hurt to the very core of my soul, perhaps more deeply than any physical pain I ever experienced before. Although Christmas was my favorite time of year, this year it was the most painful time, and I was not alone in those thoughts. By this time, Buck and I had developed a close bond. Even he found Christmas morning difficult, and he had seen 6 of them come and go before I got there. I couldn't imagine what that was like. 500 men in this prison facility, and on Christmas Day, most of them would shed a tear. Being in prison doesn't make anyone immune from pain and loss. On days like today, it magnifies the pain and loss. Just like then, as I lay motionless in my top bunk bed, I found myself thinking with tears streaming down my face. I cannot, to this day, say why the thought came to mind, but it made a powerful impression. It seemed that this learning laboratory had the tendency to teach at a rapid rate. At least it did for me. I recalled one evening, sometime back in the mid-'80s, standing in the checkout line at the grocery store I frequented in my former hometown. At that time, I was in my mid to late 20s and had a budding career. Now, I must admit, I thought that it was an odd thing to recall on Christmas morning in prison, but this is what came to mind. Looking back, there was clearly a reason. The memory was crystal clear. I had walked into the store quickly to buy some steak and shrimp, having told my wife I would pick up some on my way home. We were to grill out that night, and I knew it would save her a trip. Little did I know that something so simple would provide such a profound lesson. Frankly, I had forgotten the experience until that day, Christmas morning, 1995. As I entered the checkout line, the clerk, a female around my age, spoke to me. "Chuck Gallagher, you're Chuck Gallagher." "Yes," somewhat startled I responded tentatively, realizing I had no idea who this person was and how she knew me. Here I was standing in my suit, having just finished a workday at the office, and now I was being identified by a stranger at the grocery store. "I'm Susie," she said, as if I should know her. I did catch her name as it was on the badge she wore on her grocery store smock. Even though she knew me, for the life of me, I had no clue who she was. Not only did I not know her name, but her face was also unfamiliar. While I tried not to show my unfamiliarity, my face must have given it away. "We went to high school together," she exclaimed, as if that should somehow jog my memory. "I read about you often in the paper. You seem to be doing so well." Noticing my wedding ring, she asked, "Do you have any children?" "Yes, one," I replied, smiling at her as I acknowledged her obvious warmth. I was just trying to be nice and carry on conversation, even though inside I just wanted to check out and move on. Then I asked what, in retrospect, was a dangerous question. "Do you?" Little did I know those simple 2 words would change the course of this unexpected visit. With my question, she responded, "Yes, 3. And with that, she stopped the process. Even though we were in the express lane, she reached under the counter, removed her pocketbook, and proceeded to take out her wallet, wherein she had 2 pictures, each for 3 children. And that was just the beginning. Standing there, I could tell that the people in line were perturbed at her for her lengthy explanation and at me for even asking. Frankly, I wasn't excited either. I didn't remember her, And I was just being nice. In reality, I just wanted to get out the door and go home. As she began to wind down, I knew not to ask any further questions. "It's so good to see you," she said, as she handed me the receipt for my purchases. "Maybe we'll see each other again sometime." I smiled and quickly walked away. As I walked to the Mercedes I was driving, I gloried in self-righteous thoughts, how important I was. She had read about me in the paper. I was somebody. All of this time away from high school, and the highest rung of the ladder she had aspired to was a checkout chick at the local grocery store. That thought was judgmental, ugly, and turned out to be profound. Yet, on that Christmas Day, 1995, as I lay on my top bunk, my thoughts drifted back to that incident. I couldn't even remember her name. Yet, in my mind's eye, I vividly saw her with her family on this Christmas Day. No doubt, she and her husband shared joy as their children squealed with delight over the meager gifts Santa left. Most of the time, you can't get kids out of bed, but on Christmas morning, they won't stay in bed. The joy and love you feel as a parent, seeing those tiny little eyes light up as they experience Christmas, it's hard to describe. That feeling is one I ache to have there in prison on Christmas morning. I imagined seeing her as she prepared their Christmas meal. As their energy began to wane, she would hold her children in her arms and tell them that she loved them. As I lay there, I imagined her gently stroking their heads as they struggled to keep their eyes open, fearing they would miss something. Gently, they would fall asleep in her arms. All those thoughts passed as I noticed the wetness of the pillow against my cheeks. She was home with her little ones. She was more of a somebody than I had ever dreamed of being. She was there, and I was in prison. Monday, December 25th, 1995. Journal. Today is my 85th day in prison and surely the most miserable I will face. As the morning broke today, my two precious children arose to a warm house full of love, anxious to see what Santa left. This year is the first, however, that Daddy has not been there with them. They are in the moment. I don't know if my absence will be significant, but it sure hurts deep in my heart. How I miss the smiles, laughter, joy, and hugs of two anxious children as they're fully engaged in unwrapping presents. I recall I used to think that getting the gift was the greatest thing. Now I know, as an adult, that more joy, much more joy, is found in sharing their joy, something that today I can't do. Here, away from them, I can't share in that joy. This is my punishment, and I will never forget it. Never. Funny, but today the mood of my fellow inmates is subdued. As I look around from the vantage point of my upper bunk, I see little movement. The loud talking and cursing of the inmates is conspicuously absent. Many of the old-timers seem to be sleeping the day away. They see it as just another day, one they hope will quickly pass. Today is supposed to be the celebration of the birth of Jesus. In many ways, we have made it something else. I never really thought about how we celebrate this day until today. And looking at it from this vantage point brings some things clearly into focus. It's not the gifts. What's really important is being able to share with those that you love. How my heart aches, knowing that I rest here alone from those who I love so dearly. Only one other time in my life do I recall pain more intense than this, but that was then and this is now. At least I know better the direction of my path and benefit of the lessons I am now learning. It's time now to make some phone calls and engage life. As the thought passed, I knew there were still choices to make. I could wallow in self-pity or make a choice that would brighten my day and perhaps the day of others. A part of me longed to continue feeling sorry for myself, but I chose to move past it. With that, I got up and stood in the phone line. Most of the time there wasn't a line for the payphone, but today, Christmas Day, there was a long one. So I waited my turn in order to make a 3-minute collect call to my children. Merry Christmas.